You're welcome to this lesson. Today, you are going to learn how to answer WASSCE questions on simile. I am Romeso Adeyemo with the brand name. You're
English
welcome
with
to today's lesson.
RMG. And
Today,
this
you
video
are
is
going to
proudly brought
learn
to
how
you
to
by
answer
Yota Virtual
WASSCE
Learning
questions
Platform.
on simile.
In this video,
I
you are
am
going to
Romeso
learn all
Adeyemo
you
with the
need to
brand
know
name.
about simile in order for you to excel in your YSSE examination so that you can get the best out of your exam. So, are you ready to learn with me today? Get your writing materials and let's begin. Kindly note that this is the second part of this video that I made on simile. If you are yet to watch the first part, kindly go to the description below and click on the link to watch that first before coming back here. So let's continue from where we left off. So I stopped at giving you one of the sentences that could fit into this question for you to create an auditory vivid imagery. And the sentence reads, the chatter in the hallways is like a never-ending echo that disrupts focus. So when you hear the expression, a never-ending echo, you can imagine listening to that kind of echo. It's going to be annoying. You do not want to continue to listen to it. So by this way, you can express your frustration or your discontentment about the chatter in the hallway just by using simile to create vivid imagery. Now let's continue to the next example. So don't forget that I said that for your writing, you are at liberty with creativity. Your own sentence will definitely be different from mine. I'm only giving you this so that you can use it as a basis to create your own unique sentences. So the second example reads, a teacher's encouraging words are like a gentle stream that soothes and motivates. So by reading this, you can imagine listening to the gentle sound of a flowing stream. The question asks you to not just point out two practices among students that should be discouraged, but it's also pointed out that you should write about two habits in teachers that should be promoted. Do you understand? So this kind of sentence can fit into the habits in teachers that should be promoted. Also, remember that you should be intentional about avoiding bland sentences or expressions by just writing from the beginning to the end without any type of figure of speech or imagery. Do you understand? You should be intentional about using creative sentences like this, such as the usage of simile, metaphor, etc. But in this video, we are particular about how to use simile. So let's move on to the next question, which is question 3 from section A, WAEC 2019. And here we are going to use this question to exemplify how you can create olfactory vivid imagery, which is the imagery that appeal to the sense of what smell. So here we have write a story that ends with the statement, I wish I had listened to my parents. In that section A, we usually have different type of question. It could be a speech, it could be a formal letter, an informal letter, an article, or a story. So this is supposed to be a what? A story. So let's see how we can use simile to create a vivid imagery that could appeal to our sense of smell so that we can communicate better to our audience. So yeah, I have come up with my own write-up. I've told you, you don't have to copy what I've written. You should be creative with coming up with your own. So I longed for the comfort of her presence, and the fragrance of my mother's perfume was like a comforting embrace, reminding me of her love and wisdom. If only I had listened to her, I wouldn't be facing this mess now. So let's assume that I've written a whole lot of things that I experienced that made me regret not listening to my parents. Do you understand? So probably I'm rounding off the essay already. Then I said, I longed for the comfort of her presence. That is, maybe I'm missing her in that moment. And the fragrance of my mother's perfume was like a comforting embrace. So when your reader read this, they can imagine if their mother also wears a particular type of perfume, they can remember in that moment. Or if there's a kind of perfume that they like, they can actually remember that smell in that moment. and that could keep them connected to your story. Do you understand? To you, it could keep them engaging throughout the novel, throughout the story. So when you write only bland sentences by just telling your reader bland stories, you won't be able to sustain their interest. So let's move on to the next one, which is a question that we are going to use to exemplify tactile imagery. And tactile imagery usually appeal to the sense of touch. So we have question 3 from section A, WAEC 2018. Write a letter to the chairman of the Environmental Protection Agency on the effects of illegal felling of trees and suggest ways to remedy the situation. So, we said there are different type of questions. So this is a kind of a formal letter to the chairman. So in this moment, can you pause this video and try to see if you can actually come up with something creative, just one sentence on simile to create a vivid imagery. Even if it is not tactile, it could be any of the one that I've explained earlier. However, this is what I come up with. The tree's branches were like nature's fingers, now severed and limp. So here I'm imagining that I'm writing how the removal or the falling of these trees has been affecting what nature. You know, when there are trees in a particular type of place, it makes the environment cool, calm, inviting. You want to spend your time there to enjoy beautiful moment. However, now that the trees are already falling, I'm trying to communicate how this can be what disastrous to nature. Do you understand? Were you able to come up with any example for this question? If you were able to do so, kindly put it in the comments so that I can be sure that you're actually following. So let's consider another example on this question. So we have the gentle rustle of leaves in the breeze was like a soothing caress, now silenced by destruction. I'm still trying to communicate how the removal of these trees could be disastrous to nature or to our environment. Do you understand? So instead of using blunt sentences or just by saying that, oh, it is not good to remove the trees because, then I continue to say because and because and because. Do you understand? I could come up with a meaningful sentence to communicate how I really feel about the situation by saying the gentle rustle of leaves in the breeze. Do you understand? So you can imagine your reader in that moment can imagine going in between those trees and he could feel the gentle breeze on their skin in that moment. Do you understand? So it was like a soothing caress, now silenced by destruction. So in that moment, your reader can also feel that, oh, perhaps as they are going in between that tree, someone suddenly remove the trees. You know how it would feel, especially if it is on a sunny day. How the sun is just going to pierce into their skin. You can just say things like this to keep your reader engaged and to really communicate how you feel about what you are saying and not just keep telling them and telling them without really carrying them along in their emotions. Do you understand? I hope you are following. So let's move on to the next question, which we are going to use to exemplify a gustatory imagery. So that's question 3, section A, WAEC 2017. So we have your principal is due for retirement at the end of the academic year. As a senior prefect, write a speech which you would deliver to honor him or her at a send-off party. So this is also a form of what's a speech writing. So can you write any imagery on this question before I unveil my own? I want you to practice this. You can just pause the video and try to write one or two before you continue. And after writing it, kindly put it in the comments below. So this is what I could come up with. So I have your support has been like a refreshing glass of lemonade, quenching our thirst for knowledge. So by saying this, I'm trying to say that I appreciate the principal's efforts over the years in helping us build our what
knowledge. So I'm not just going to say you've helped us build our knowledge. That would be a bland statement. Do you understand? So by saying your support has been like a refreshing glass of lemonade, quenching our thirst for knowledge, I'm not just saying that it has helped us build our knowledge, but I'm also able to communicate my satisfaction, my level of satisfaction, because in that moment you can actually imagine the satisfaction you will feel when you get a glass of lemonade to quench your thirst. Do you understand? So this is what simile and every other figure of speech, this is what they help us to achieve in our write-up. That doesn't mean that all your sentences should be in form of a simile or one figure of speech or the other. No. But using one or two of it will be impressive. So let's also consider this other example of gustatory imagery. It's appeal to your sense of taste. So we have the curry tasted like a spicy fire in my mouth. You can imagine, some food are so spicy that immediately you put it on your tongue, you just want to spit it out. So when you say tasted like a fire, everybody knows that nobody can endure putting fire in their mouth. So you can imagine how hot, how spicy it is. Your reader will be able to imagine how spicy and understand. Do you understand? And also kind of imagine how it must have tasted for you to compare it to be as spicy as a fire in your mouth. Do you understand? So these are the vivid imagery that simile can help us create in our write-up so that we can keep our audience or our reader focused, engaged, and immersed in our write-up from the beginning to the end. Now let's move on to the next purpose of simile, which is to explain complex ideas. So, similes can help simplify complex ideas, concepts, or emotions by comparing them to familiar things to make them easy to understand. Sometimes when you try to explain something, the person you're explaining to might not really get it until you say, oh, it was like this or it was like that. Do you understand? So let's look at a few example. So I have life is like a puzzle with pieces that don't always fit. Here you are trying to say that life is complicated and there are different challenges and lots of challenges in life. So, but the moment you compare it to a puzzle, the person can imagine playing with a puzzle. You need to keep looking for the right side that fits the right piece in your hand. Do you understand? So, another example is the human brain is as complex as a computer network. You can't say the brain. Do you understand? But here I have an image. You can see how intertwined the the brain is. We all know how complex the computer software also works. The computer can also absorb lots of information and it can also help us solve lots of problems, just like our brain too can. Do you understand? So comparing some complex concepts with some physical concepts, it could help us to do what? Simplify complex ideas. So let's move on to the third one, which is to make abstract concepts relatable. So similes can help make abstract or intangible concepts such as love, fear, and happiness more tangible and accessible by comparing them to concrete objects or experiences. You can't see love, you can't see fear. All of these are abstract concepts that can only be felt. However, if you are trying to express them by comparing them to some physical experiences or objects, you might be able to communicate what you actually meant or what you actually feel about that abstract concept clearly. So let's look at a few examples on that. So I have grief is like a heavy weight pressing down on your chest. When someone is grieving, you might not really be able to express how it really feels. But when you say grief is like a heavy weight, the person listening or the person reading can imagine putting a heavy weight on someone's heart. It's not going to be easy for such person to have the ability to do anything. Such person will be down, such person won't have the liberty to do what they would like to do or the clarity to make better choices. All they would want to get rid of is the heavy weight that is pressing down on their chest. So let's move on to the next one, which is to add emphasis. So simile can also help intensify or emphasize a characteristic, an emotion, or an idea, drawing attention to its significance. Do you understand? So if you are trying to emphasize a particular concept, simile can help you do that so that you don't have to keep repeating it just because you want to emphasize. You can just try to compare that thing to another thing. For example, if you say she's as busy as a bee, everybody knows that bees are restless, they don't stay still, they need to keep bustling around. Do you understand? So when you say this, you're already showing the emphasis that, oh, this person is always busy, is always on the go, this person has one thing or the other on their plate every time. Do you understand? Can you give me an example on this? You can just write it down or put it in the comments so that I will know that you're following and you really understand what I'm saying. So, another example is the concert was as loud as a jet engine. So, when you say this, you are able to communicate how loud it is. You're not just saying, oh, the concert was very loud. That's a blunt statement. But when you say the concert was as loud as a jet engine, anyone who has heard a jet engine before can imagine how loud it must have been. Do you understand? So let's move on to the fifth one, which is to enhance storytelling. So similes can help us add depth, emotion, and sensory details to stories. It makes stories more immersive and what? Engaging. Just like the examples that I've given, especially for the vivid imagery, which is our number one. You know, you could see how we can use simile to evoke different types of emotion. It could be physical, it could be touch, it could be taste, it could be smell, it could be your sense of hearing. Do you understand? So by adding this touch, you can add depth to your story. So for example, we could have the magical kingdom was as vibrant as a rainbow. So when I read that, I can imagine how vibrant such a kingdom must have been for you to compare it to a rainbow. Do you understand? So by so doing, I'll be imagining maybe a Sophia kingdom or all of these imaginative kingdoms. Do you understand? So by so doing, your reader will be able to connect to what you're trying to say. They'll be able to picture what you're trying to say. It won't be just bland without any touch of emotion. Do you understand? So let's consider another example for this. So you can say, the mysterious stranger appeared as suddenly as a ghost. So if you just say a mysterious stranger appeared, that's okay. But when you say the mysterious stranger appeared as suddenly as a ghost, we all know that when you hear a ghost, there is a kind of feeling of fear that you're going to feel in that moment. So by saying that, you can communicate that fear to your reader by using this comparison to a ghost. Do you understand? So, with the help of simile, we can communicate different types of emotions for our reader to not just hear us, but also understand what we are saying. So, do you have any question? If you have any question, do not hesitate to put it in the comment section, as I will be glad to answer all your questions. And for this, trust me, it is not difficult. All you need to do is try to practice. The more you practice, the better you get. And that's why I've been saying it in between the video that can you come up with one or two examples? Your first example might be bad, your second might be bad. But trust me, once you start practicing from the third, you would see the improvement yourself. And before you know it, you are writing amazingly engaging write up. I am Rumeso Adeyemo with the brand name English with RMG. And I hope you enjoyed this lesson as much as I enjoy doing this with you. Kindly like, subscribe, and share. Please share with your friends, let them benefit as well. I wish you all the best in your examination. Bye for now.